Hello and welcome to a new edition of our program Cairo Local Time, and in this edition of our program we will focus on the 37th Culture Symposium marking Martyrs and Veterans Day, entitled The Price. Short break and we'll be back. Welcome back, dear viewers. And President Fattah al-Sisi attended on Thursday the 37th Culture Symposium marking Martyrs and Veterans Day, entitled The Price. During the symposium, President al-Sisi said Egyptians will not forget martyrs' sacrifices for the nation's peace and security. The head of state reiterated that the price paid by the martyrs can never be compensated. The President also watched a film entitled Sinai, the Epic of Sacrifice and Construction, reviewing stories of sacrifice and bravery of martyrs. Here is the full speech of the President.
In the name of Allah, I do not know whether I should read the speech or express rather my feelings today. I would like to say I'm one of the people who have seen all events and developments. And as you saw, the whole ceremony and all our program reflects one thing, that whatever the difficulties we face are, and whatever are the difficult conditions we're facing, thank God, things end. Of course, there is a price, as the title is. There was a dear price paid, and there are families, and I always say this and repeat it. I repeat this to show appreciation to the families with us today, or those families that are not here with us today. This is a very dear price that you paid. It's both dear for you and us, all of us, all Egyptians who are watching us today on television. They feel the price that was paid for this country to enjoy stability, security, and safety. And the message is not only to good and kind Egyptians, but evil, even to evil ones. When this happened years ago, we used to say that one day this would come to an end. Terrorism can never destroy a country if it is united. Of course, there is a price paid, long time elapses, and there is a cost besides souls. But of course, this will end, and what we have seen every day over 10 years. Let me talk as an eyewitness how this happened. And I will say it for you to know that nothing happens by coincidence. It's a plan and procedures that are made so that in the end we will get into the cycle we got into over the past 10 years. And I'm not telling a story, I'm telling you facts. I was the deputy director of intelligence in 2009. And we were holding meetings to discuss the security in Sinai. And I'm saying this to all Egyptians and also the junior officers and even police officers. I'm not revealing any secrets, but these meetings were held. And then Murad Muwaffi was the manager of national intelligence, and Major General Hassan Abdulrahman was the director of national security, and we were discussing things, and we found that in 7 years there has been a huge infrastructure formed in North Sinai, and this infrastructure was warehouses of ammunition and arms, explosives, as well as a lot of human resources to take control over Sinai. And if you check the social media, I'm talking about 2008 and 2009, you will find that there was films for them making parades and marches. And they were then saying that there is a great problem in Sinai. And they said that this group that was formed over these years before 2007, in 2005, maybe needed a great military action. And not only the police, but it should be both the police and the army. But this did not happen. There were agreements and certain conditions, and the police forces there were so limited, and the army were on line A only. And things went on as such. And then the conspiracy with all its dimensions appeared in 2011, when people were occupied by what's going on in the square. They were undermining the presence of the state over there, and they attacked police stations and security directorates. And they established a state, and they formed their judiciary on the 28th of January. As a result of this, things were out of control. And the field marshal, may he rest in peace, I told him that we might face a big problem if things go on as such, because they can do operations across borders against Israel, and Israel will retaliate, and this would be a big problem that will lead to be a big struggle, and this might be their objective. So the decision then from the field marshal to go into with forces, and we did the needed procedures with the Israelis back then. I contacted them and told them we need the forces to come to El Arish, Rafah, al-Sheikh Zouayed, to control things over there. I'm mentioning this for history. They were very understanding. And they said, but tell us how many forces would be there and coordinate with us, and we went on up till now, but maybe the size of the forces over these 8 or 9 years since 2011 up till today has changed. Maybe the forces increased every time to be able to deal with the challenges over there. Why am I telling this story? Because in a previous meeting I said that you should keep your eyes open about everything that's happening in Egypt, and not just that. We need always to be cautious about anything that might harm us outside Egypt. I would like to say to all Egyptians that I had 2 options when I assumed power. Either I worry you and leave things in your hands, and as I said before, we can stop everything and do a media mobilization against the war taking place there, and this was not an easy war. And if we show you the films and not our films, so that you won't say that we are the ones who are doing this. These are the films on the internet. You can see the volume of damage, losses and destruction, and the dead people. I can make you watch 1 film. I'm swearing by God that I think if you would watch this film, all Egyptians won't sleep. If you saw what they were doing, just 1 film. So I had 2 options. Either to worry you and overburden you and mobilize all state efforts for this war and nothing else. But we did not do that. Why? The first option is the option of politics. What should we do? We should mobilize public opinion behind the political leadership in confronting terrorism, and this would be the cover for anything until things improve. This is 1 option. The other option was to move with all our resources and capabilities to end this problem and also construct the state that has been through very difficult conditions with what was happening in 2011, 2012 and 2013. So we selected the second option. There were our sons who were fighting there, and also we were fighting here in another battle. If we say that thanks God, and this is the 4th time for me to say this, thanks God, we finalized successfully this battle and this mission. After they heard me saying so, we listened to them. They said, let's do an operation for them to show that we're still there. They wanted to come from abroad, do an operation to prove that they still exist. That's why we always need to be on alert, and our gun should always be ready. I never talked publicly about that, and when I used to say it, the media would take it out. But they won't be able to do it this time. Every month at least there was 1 billion Egyptian pounds for 90 months. For 90 months at least, or even more. Calculate since 2011 up till now, how many years, how many months, 1 billion pounds per month. Why am I saying this right now on such a day? Because I think that we are all affected by what's going on. The mother, the father, and the whole family are touched. And these are our sons and our families. So I want to tell all Egyptians that there was a dear price sold and paid in addition to the blood of the martyrs and the injured ones. They sacrificed their lives. So when we talk about our life, and it's normal, so I say that there are people who do not sleep. There are people who become martyrs and sacrifice themselves for us to enjoy peace. So it is so important that they would feel and the families would feel that the price that was paid did not go in vain, and our appreciation is great. And I said this before. I said that we want to be stronger. Yes, we need to be stronger because we have a lot of challenges before us. Building a state and restoring its status is not an easy thing. So building a country with 1 million Egyptians and guests in it to restore its position back in education, health is not an easy matter. It needs effort and sacrifices. And the battle started. And many of us used to ask, when would it come to an end? And thanks God, we were able to recognize that it will come to an end. And we won't make only a ceremony, but we'll have also an exhibition for this war. We will show you the things that were left, and they are not few, they are a lot. Many arms, ammunitions, communication devices, all the devices and tools needed for a war. So things there were not that easy. People are used to wars with tanks, planes, like the conventional wars. But this war was even more ferocious because you know your conventional enemy. You can see him and you can face him, but you don't know this enemy. He is hidden amongst us. And he would attack you and flee. Like cowards, and people are worried about their country, their sons, and the future of this country. So thanks God, we will hold this exhibition, and this exhibition you will see the names and the photos of all the criminals who were there. We will show you the names and the photos of all those criminals. Don't let this happen again. You, the Egyptians, should never cause this to happen once more. You should not cause the destruction of your country. This happened in 2011 when things got out of control. And I will keep repeating this, and I will be held accountable before Allah for all these things I'm saying. This happened in 2011. Teach this in schools and say this in media and say this in faculties, universities. This is so important, destructing the countries and destroying them from within and from inside. This is cheaper for those who do it. It is so easy to destroy a country with its own people, and we will always have good and bad people. I do not want to be lengthy. I would like to reassure you that, thank God, we enjoy stability, peace, and security, and every day things become better than yesterday. If people would think that an economic condition like the one we're going through is the real test of the state, then you are being unfair. And I'm being honest here. If we would say that, what about our economic conditions in 2012, how were things like? What about 2013? It is so important not to forget, but to know that this means that the state did not have anything. And this state could have gone into a civil war that would have lasted for long years. And I always say this, and they ask, why do you say it? I tell them that God is showing this to be a lesson for us. You still have vivid lessons up till now. Up till now, there are countries who got into conflicts and did not get out of it yet. So I do not need to say this. You can all see this before your eyes, and God, thanks be to Him, wanted this country not to get into this conflict. Why? It's God's will. Despite all the plans, yes, despite all the conspiracies, God's will was that Egypt would survive and prevail. I would like to send greetings to the families of all martyrs and all injured ones who are here with us today and those at home. I would like to tell them that our promise is that we will never forget you. And this is the least we can give you. And the biggest promise is that we will make the price of your sons' bloods and the injuries, the birth of a state you will always be proud of. The last thing I want to say, long live Egypt, long live Egypt, long live Egypt. Thank you very much, and peace be upon you.
Welcome back, dear viewers. And March the 9th was chosen as Martyrs' Day, as the anniversary of the martyrdom of Lieutenant General Abdel Menem Riyad, 1969. He was martyred in the War of Attrition, and while he was inspecting the forces of front lines north of Ismailia. Today, the President celebrated Martyrs' Day, and more about the celebrations in this report.
President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi attended on Thursday the 37th Cultural Symposium, marking Martyrs and Veterans Day, entitled The Prize. During the symposium, President el-Sisi said Egyptians will not forget martyrs' sacrifices for the nation's peace and security. The head of state reiterated that the price paid by the martyrs can never be compensated. During the celebration, President el-Sisi watched a film entitled Sinai, the Epic of Sacrifice and Construction, reviewing stories of sacrifice and bravery of martyrs. He also listened to families of martyrs, responded to their demands, took a family photo, and honored them. March 9th was chosen as Martyrs' Day as the anniversary of the martyrdom of Lieutenant General Abdelmenam Riyad, 1969. He was martyred in the War of Attrition, and while he was inspecting the forces of front lines, North Ismailia, he was wounded and died while being transferred to hospital. After October War, Egypt announced the selection of March 9th to commemorate the memory of the Chief of Staff of the Egyptian Army, Abdelmenam Riyad. Egypt doesn't forget sacrifices of her loyal sons and will owe them forever. All these glories come from an unlimited balance of giving and imposing the will of truth and justice. The martyrs sacrificed their blood and soul for the sake of their homeland to live in eternal prosperity.
And now we are joined over the phone by Dr. Heda Rizkana. She is a former parliamentarian. Good afternoon, Dr. Huda.
Hello, good afternoon.
So, Dr. Huda, yes.
What a pleasant day that we are having this interview with you as a nice TV. I appreciate very much your enthusiastic action towards this day, especially because it's the martyrdom day to remember Abdelmenam Riyad, our big leader, and all the people who sacrificed their life for the sake of this land.
Yes, Dr. Huda. We all followed the celebrations early in the day as the President met with the families of the martyrs and their mothers. So let's focus on the significance of such celebration for the families of the martyrs, and especially the mothers of those martyrs as a symbol of the strong Egyptian woman, especially also that we are celebrating women this month.
Yeah, of course, this is the month of the celebration of the International Women's Day, so it's a big deal because women appreciated all over the world right now because she's the root and the pillar of every strong family, and strong families bring you strong men and strong youth and who are defending their lands and defending their civilization. That's why we have to commemorate this event and appreciate the steps the president took for this celebration. He cares for the women, he cares for the children, he cares for their monthly welfare, and this is a humane part for the President Sisi, which is not to be let go, but it's maybe the only leader in the area who took these steps to take this celebration part.
Yes, Dr. Huda, also, if we talk about the President's speech today, and he highlighted many points and many aspects. How do you read his speech?
Well, I can say that this is one of the strongest speech he gave, all from this, many celebrations we've been enjoying with him. But the thing that we have to see how the depth of this celebration means to the generations and to the young youth and to the early childhood in the youth itself. If they see that their fathers and their uncles and their relatives who've been sacrificing their lives for the youth, for the land, and how they are appreciated by the head of the state, and how they are involved in the feeling of the feeling of the patriotism, which is initiated in there. They have to seek the loyalty and the love of the earth who they belong to. And this tightens their beliefs in their brains that this land, that they belong to this land and they belong to Egypt and they have to sacrifice their life and all their efforts to give this land all the needs she needs.
Yes, Dr. Hoda, to what extent this kind of celebrations add to people's sense of patriotism?
Well, I appreciate very much this celebration because it tightens the young generation with their land, and they give a precious feeling for what they do. If they believe that this is the land they belong to, and this is the land they should sacrifice life for them. This is the issue that we have to erase in this generation and to repeat every day in the school and in every occasions that this is one we never forget the people who sacrifice their lives for the peace of this land and for the liberation of our the liberation of free.
Yes, Dr. Hoda, can you hear me? Yes? Yes, it seems there is a technical problem, and as we said earlier that the President attended the 37th Armed Forces Cultural Symposium on Martyrs' Day in attendance of many high-ranking officials and officers, figures and ministers, as well as some mothers of the armed forces martyrs. The President said that Egypt's dream of eliminating terrorism has come true thanks to martyrs' sacrifices, and warned of the ultimatum risk of terrorism, referring back on the war of terror the country waged in the aftermath of 2011 Arab Spring. The President urged all Egyptians to be cautious and to prevent the destruction of Egypt Egypt could have witnessed over the past 10 years from taking place, stressing that destroying the country at the hand of its people is cheaper than destroying it by hands of enemies. The President also underscored the need to protect the homeland and prevent reoccurrence of any sabotage actions in Egypt, stressing that Egypt witnessed great achievements over the past 10 years thanks to God and the sacrifices of army, police and all Egyptians. The President said that they chose to walk in parallel line between eliminating terrorism and implementing development plans, stressing that we must remain aware of the dangers surrounding the state. The President promised the families of martyrs to celebrate the Martyrs' Day in Sinai later. And also the President, March the 9th was chosen as Martyrs' Day as the anniversary of the martyrdom of Lieutenant General Abdel Menaim Riyad. And dear viewers, back to some local news here from Egypt, and the Minister of Transport, Kamel Al-Wazir, said that the world sees the African continent as a land of promising opportunities that is more qualified than ever to achieve high rates of sustainable economic growth in light of its enormous human resources and diverse wealth. Details follow. Minister of Transport Kamel Al-Wazir said that the world sees the African continent as a land of promising opportunities that is more qualified than ever to achieve high rates of sustainable economic growth in light of its enormous human resources and diverse wealth. He called on regional and international institutions, investment banks and development partners in Africa to contribute to advancing towards achieving common aspirations as well as financing development projects, foremost of which are transport ones and necessary infrastructure needs. Wazir made the remarks during the opening session of the World Congress on High-Speed Rail that is organized by the International Union of Railways in the Moroccan city of Marrakesh. The event, themed "The Right Speed for Our Planet," is attended by Moroccan Minister of Transport and Logistics, UIC Chairman and UIC Director General. The minister added that development is not the responsibility of governments alone, but rather requires wide participation from the private sector, provided that governments assume their key role as regards providing an attractive climate for investments. He also underscored the importance of coordination, exchange of expertise, and continuing tireless work at all levels to help attract further investments and ensure capital flows to transport projects in a way that contributes to achieving economic and social justice for the African peoples. And the Suez Canal Authority Chairman Admiral Osama Rabia said revenues of the canal recorded a notable rise as it reached $1.5 billion over the month of January and February of this year, compared with $1.1 billion during the same period of the previous year, recording a 41.6% increase worth $454 million. Details follow. Suez Canal Authority Chairman Admiral Osama Rabia said revenues of the canal recorded a notable rise as it reached $1.5 billion over the months of January and February of this year, compared with $1.1 billion during the same period of the previous year, recording a 41.6% increase worth $454.6 million. Rabia remarks were made during ceremony held to mark Portside Naval Arsenal launching new naval units as part of SCA's strategy to modernize its naval fleet. A number of navigation agencies, members of the SCA board, as well as members of the SCA labor unit, attended the ceremony. In statements during the ceremony, Rabia asserted that the SCA has made a great leap in the development of the naval arsenal over the past few years, thanks to the great interest of President Fattah al-Sisi to upgrade the level of the naval services offered to ships crossing the Suez Canal. He highlighted President al-Sisi's remarks on the necessity of localizing the industry of building naval units in the naval arsenals and SCA-affiliated companies to maximize the benefits of its assets. He also cited navigation statistics, which recorded a notable increase in the number of passing ships, noting that 4,117 ships crossed the canal over the months of January and February, with a rise of 630 ships compared to the same period of the past year. Rabia noted that passing ships' total load recorded 237.3 million tons over the months of January and February, compared with total tonnage of 206.3 million, a growth of 15% compared with the same period of the past year. And moving to tourism, and Egyptian archaeological mission of Ain Shams University have unearthed a statue of one of the Roman emperors in the form of Sphinx. The team also found remains of a chapel in limestone offering a table, all from the Roman period in Qana. Details in this report. During excavation work at the eastern side of the Dandara temple in Qana Governorate, Egyptian archaeological mission of Ain Shams University have unearthed a statue of one of the Roman emperors in the form of Sphinx. The team also found remains of a chapel, limestone offering table, all from the Roman period. Former Minister of Antiquities and Professor of Egyptology at Ain Shams University, Mamdouh Damati, said the remains of the newly uncovered chapel are carved in limestone and made of a two-level platform with foundations and a ramp. The chapel contains a mud brick Byzantine basin with a ladder covered with plaster. Damati added that the small smiling sphinx carved in limestone was discovered in the basin of the chapel. Damati further explained that the newly uncovered sphinx is accurately carved, adding that it bears royal facial features with a smiling face and two dimples. The sphinx wears nibs on his head with the cobra-shaped urias. The early examination of the Sphinx reveals that it most probably belonged to the Roman emperor. Studies will be performed to read the stele, which will help in revealing the identity of the newly uncovered Sphinx. The Egyptian Archaeological Mission, which started its excavation work in November 2022, will continue its excavation work in the area to discover more of Horus temple blocks. Well, dear viewers, that's all for Cairo Local Time. Thank you for watching.